Kobe Bryant and tire chains were born on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is August 23rd, 2023. It is the 235th day of the year. You got 130 days left in 2023. It is the 34th Wednesday in the 34th week and the 64th day of summer. There are 31 days left until fall. Today is National Sponge Cake Day. Who doesn't love a good sponge cake? National Sponge Cake Day celebrates the dessert that was first created in the mid-16th century by an Italian pastry chef for a Spanish lord. Since then, sponge cake has become a popular dessert around the world. Now, interesting fact about sponge cake, not interesting fact, funny story I should say. Curb Your Enthusiasm is a great movie and it's very Seinfeld-esque. I mean, it was created by one of Seinfeld's creators. And they always have callbacks. Callbacks in comedy are amazing. That's one of my favorite type of humor. You tell a joke and then later on you reference that joke. As an example, when I used to do comedy, quick disclaimer here, if you're a teacher in a classroom, please put it on mute for the next 30 seconds. But I used to tell a joke about how my grandmother had glaucoma, so she got to smoke the weed. Then I'd go about my act, and towards the end of my act, I would tell a dirty joke of some sort, and then finish it up with, I told that to my grandmother, she blew bong water all over me. That is a killer callback. But in Curb Your Enthusiasm, this guy was trying to lose weight, and he loved sponge cake. Well, his friend, Larry David, found a place that was selling a bunch of sponge cake for rock bottom prices. So he decides to buy him like 100 sponge cakes and brings it over to the house. He's all excited about it. The wife yells at him because her husband is trying to lose weight and he's bringing all this sponge cake over. Well, she throws it in the trash. Since there's so much of it, it's laying all over the trash area. The show goes on. She keeps accusing Larry of trying to kill her husband. One thing leads to another. Larry and the friend, the heavy friend, are in his office, which is the second story of the house, and they're talking. The friend sits on the windowsill and falls out onto 100 sponge cakes, and it saves his life. Great callback, my favorite sponge cake story. All right, let's see what else August 23rd has given us. 1784, the Western North Carolina, now Eastern Tennessee, declares itself an independent state under the name of Franklin. It is not accepted into the United States and only lasts for 4 years. 1864, the American Civil War. The Union Navy captures Fort Morgan, Alabama, thus breaking Confederate dominance of all ports on the Gulf of Mexico except for Galveston, Texas. 1904, the automobile tire chain is patented on this day. 1966, Lunar Orbiter 1 takes the first photograph from orbit around the moon. 1970, the Salad Bowl Strike of California. Organized by Mexican-American labor union leader Cesar Chavez, the Salad Bowl Strike, the largest farm worker strike in U.S. history, begins. This was one of the more successful strikes the United States has ever seen. It was led by the United Farm Workers against the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. The strike involved a series of strikes, mass pickets, boycotts, and secondary boycotts. Now, what's interesting is the labor part of this strike was already settled. They'd figured it all out. But the International Brotherhood of Teamsters claimed that they were in charge of the United Farm Workers. The United Farm Workers said, no, you're not in charge of us. We got our own thing going on. And it went back and forth. The strike resulted in 6,000 to 10,000 workers walking off the fields. The strike also included nationwide non-union lettuce boycotts. The strike culminated in the passage of the California Agricultural Labor Relations Act of 1975. Now, one interesting fact about this. On December 4th, federal marshals arrested Cesar Chavez, and for the first time in his life, he went to jail. 2 days later, he was visited in the Monterey County Jail in Salinas by former Olympic gold medal winning decathlete Rayford Johnson and Ethel Kennedy, who is the widow of the slain Robert F. Kennedy. They went in to see Cesar Chavez, they came out, and as they came out, they were attacked by an anti-union mob. Chavez was released by the Supreme Court of California on December 23rd, but the next day he called a strike against 6 additional lettuce growers. The bitter strike ended on March 26, 1971, when the Teamsters and the UFW signed a non-jurisdictional agreement reaffirming the UFW's right to organize field workers. In other words, they were part of the Teamsters, but they didn't really have to get the approval from them for anything. 1973, a bank robbery gone wrong in Stockholm, Sweden, turns into a hostage crisis. Over the next 5 days, hostages begin to sympathize with their captors, leading to the term Stockholm Syndrome. This was our deep dive last year, and one thing about that I should have brought up then, I read this book years ago about things people got wrong in history, and just, things we believe that are totally wrong, and the the phrase, I should say, Stockholm Syndrome was in there. A lot of people think that has to do with the 1972 Munich Olympics. The reason for that was September 5th, the same year, a group of 8 members from the Palestinian Black September terrorist organization broke into the Olympic Village and took 11 Israeli athletes, coaches, and officials hostage in their apartment. So during this incident in Munich, doesn't have anything to do with Stockholm Syndrome, but really sad fact about it is they had taken all these hostages. 2 were initially killed when they tried to resist the terrorists in the very beginning. Eventually, after about 18 hours, they had brokered a deal where they were going to be able to get on a plane and go to an Arab country with the terrorists and their current hostages. As they were getting on these helicopters that would take them to the plane, the German police attempted a hostage rescue and it went south and everyone died. 1990, Saddam Hussein appears on Iraqi state television with a number of Western guests. Actually, they were hostages themselves to try and prevent the Gulf War. Basically, he was trying to show the world, look, we got a bunch of your Americans here. You don't want to attack us. 1991, the World Wide Web is open to the public. 2011, a magnitude 5.8 earthquake occurs in Virginia. Damage occurs to monuments and structures in Washington, D.C., and the resultant damage is estimated at $200 to $300 million. Premiered on August 23rd, 1998, that 70s show, such a good show. I didn't like the new one they came out with, that 90s show. It wasn't that good. I think it was that 90s show, but that 70s show was such a good television show. I loved it. The show ran for 8 seasons and 200 episodes in total. It had so many people on that show. Mila Kunis, star Ashton Kutcher starred in it, along with Laura Prepon. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Wilmer Valderrama. Everyone knows who he is. If you see him, I can't pronounce his name. Topher Grace and Danny Masterson, who's now in jail. Yeah, he just got sentenced to like 30 years. But they also had other people like Jenna Fisher. Lindsay Lohan was on there. Betty White was on there. All his guest appearances. Even Tommy Chong. Born on this day, 1978, Kobe Bryant, legendary shooting guard who helped the Los Angeles Lakers win 3 straight NBA championships from 2000 to 2002, and 2 more in 2009 and 2010. He was named the NBA MVP in 2008 and selected to the All-NBA First Team 11 times from 2002 to 2013. He spent part of his youth playing both soccer and basketball in Italy. Then, after his family moved back to the United States, he played high school basketball at Lower Merion High School in Philadelphia before being selected 13th overall by the Charlotte Hornets in the 1996 NBA draft. He also won an Oscar for the Best Animated Short Film in 2018. It was called Dear Basketball. And it's a really good little short film. It's basically, he wrote a poem about basketball like it was his friend or his girlfriend or whatever, about how he's getting too old to play. And it really, even before his death, it's a very emotional short film. All right, that's today's video. We're gonna skip the people who died on this day. There was nothing terribly exciting. And I'm thinking about doing something else with the celebrity deaths. So we'll see how that works out here in the coming weeks. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other.